And a warm welcome to another Good Morning Thailand, coming to you from, well, somewhere in Thailand. We've got people all over the country today. Let's start by welcoming our guests. Of course, we've got Bill Barnett back, some might call him a loudmouth. We'd also like to welcome to the studio Able Wanamakok, who is sort of a local MC, entrepreneur, mother, more importantly. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I don't know what I am at the moment yet, so you'll find out.
We'll find out.
There you go, exactly.
And
Just don't be loud. Just don't be loud.
And from an undisclosed location somewhere in Thailand, we'd like to welcome Jett Gunther. Hi, Jett.
Hello there.
So, Jett, you're, of course, the sort of co-newsreader, the lesser important newsreader on Thailand News Today. What do you do when you're not doing newsreading?
Well, I also do videos about reviewing condos as well, so that's what I've been focusing on as well. I think some of you have already seen some of my videos on the Tiger channel. They're also published on my own personal channel as well, so I'm really excited about that project that's going on right now. And then I'm here to contend for loudest speaker.
It's going to be tough. Get ready. Be loud. Be loud.
You're also into like cryptocurrencies and stuff, aren't you?
I am, yep.
Okay, all right, great. Thanks for expanding on that.
Well, you asked the question and I said it was a yes-no question.
Are you making lots on that?
Well, wouldn't want to say that online. The revenue office is watching.
Don't think so. Jett, I'd actually like to start by getting a bit of dimension from you. You actually live along Sukhumvit Road in that sort of Thonglor, Ekamai area, which is sort of famous for being the origins of the current outbreak, what they're calling the third wave of COVID-19 in Thailand. Allegedly. Can you tell us a bit about the area? Because, I mean, you do frequent some of these clubs in the past, and you know the area pretty well. Tell us your thoughts about it.
I do frequent the area, and that's probably why you guys have me as far away as possible, not in the same room.
Yes, exactly.
Somewhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, the area is known as like one of the top nightlife, dining, and just general hangout areas in Bangkok. Mostly among like more middle class to upper middle class Thai people. And so, yeah, I would say it has a lot of like really high-so upper class nightclubs and all like that. So, I mean, yeah, so that's the area. It's a really lively area. So it's an area where people go and congregate and get together during the weekend. So, I mean, of course, it's natural that if you're going to have a virus going around and it's going to spread around in areas where people congregate, then Thonglor is bound to be one of them.
Can you tell us a bit about the people who were going to those areas? Could you describe the clientele of these clubs?
I mean, I would say they're like people around my age, mostly Thai. It's not really an expat scene, probably 90% Thai. And yeah, I think it's where people go and like the type of people would probably be, you know, middle class, upper middle class, very cosmopolitan, and you know, trying to be there because it's the scene and all like that.
I think something interesting now is the blame game, and it's interesting here in Thailand because you talk to people from the West, and they had this whole thing when they had COVID outbreaks about a year ago, and people want to say, oh, it was their fault. Whose fault is it? You know, where's the blame? And now we're going through this in Thailand now. So there is the blame game in Thonglor. There's the blame game places like Phuket where you had the incidents down there as well. So certainly we're going through that phase of the pandemic.
Able, where do you go out when you sort of get time off from being a mum?
Very good question, Tim. I actually don't go out. I don't drink alcohol and I don't smoke, and I'm not a big partier, and I guess I don't even really need to be seen because I kind of passed that self-worth stage of my life. So I'm a quite boring person. I guess maybe I'm the most boring person in this room here, you know.
I don't smoke, I don't drink.
But no, I really, if I go out to like a local local restaurant, and I try to stay away from a lot of people. But that's my nature. I don't actually like to party so much. So places like, Thonglor, unless it's like a nice proper restaurant or something like that, then I would go. But like Cafe Del Mar or Catch Beach Club, I'm sorry, I'm not cool enough to go to those places.
But maybe going backwards, because you're staying home and everything, you're a mother and you've got family and everything else. Are you angry about what's happened in Thonglor? Are you angry about these incidents, about how COVID allegedly spread?
Do you want to see them brought to justice?
Well, I try not to get myself angry, but I am very, very unhappy. Let's just
say that.
Very unhappy because I actually send a message on Facebook to Cafe Del Mar, telling them that I know this is a Phuket place and we're talking about Thailand, but it came from Thonglor, right? And we think, I'm sorry, we think it came from that place, and then obviously it spread to other places, but it does affect our livelihood. Lockdown again.
Everybody's.
But I know that not everybody's. I know that people don't want to get COVID. I know that, and I know that people do not want to spread it. But there is still always this blame thing, like, oh, who did it? Who started it?
Jett, can I ask you, the media have been talking about the people going to these clubs as high-sos, the high society sort of Thai people, and politicians. Are these the people you understand who sort of frequent the clubs?
Well, first of all, just to backtrack on like the blame game, and I guess I'd like to offer a different perspective about that. It's like, it's easy to point the finger to these parties and all like that, but on the other hand, I just want to say that it's not like the Phuket authorities did not know that these parties were happening. So before all this happening, we have the public, we have people like, trying to promote tourism, domestic tourism, let's travel around Thailand and support the local economy. And one of that is having these events to encourage people to travel around. So it wasn't like these events were held in secrecy under the nose of the authorities. They got permits from the authorities to hold these events because they were welcomed as a activity that would promote the local economy. And then it just so happened that there was an outbreak, as with any risky activity where people congregate, and now they're playing the blame game and demonizing these people. It's like, well, okay, I'll keep that in. If I'm an event organizer, I'll keep that in mind next time you want me to hold an event. I mean, you guys want activity in the economy so much, but then turn around and blame people when, things mess up.
I should mention in the last 24 hours, two 51-year-olds, the executives of the Crystal Club and also the Emerald Group, who owned another club in Thonglor, have denied any wrongdoing in running parties or activities at their clubs as the Thai authorities tried to zone in on exactly what happened for this current outbreak. All right, now just to move on, firstly, we'd like to thank the person who sent us 7 pages from the Book of Revelations after our discussion yesterday about the mark of the beast. Thank you very much for all those excerpts from the Bible. I'll get through them eventually, but we'll come back with our next lot of topics, but we're just going to break for a moment to check out the main stories from around Thailand. 2,455 new COVID-19 cases in Thailand today, and sadly 41 deaths reported by the CSA. Out of these new infections, 479 from Thai prisons. Over 24 assault rifles are missing from a military base in southern Thailand, down there in Narathiwat. A monk talks a man down from a telephone tower in Sattahip. 515 test positive for COVID at a construction site in Nonthaburi, mostly migrant workers, just north of Bangkok. And in southern Thailand, warnings of wet weather forecast from the tropical cyclone Yas until the end of this week. Well, the next part of our discussions today, and we've got Bill, Able, and in an undisclosed location, secret location, Jett Gunther as well.
Yep, hiding my crypto.
Crypto King.
So there is talk or open discussion now that there could be up to half a decade before the tourism economy will recover. Just to quote, Grim news for tourist-dependent areas such as Phuket, Pattaya and Samui, as the government has cautioned it could be another half-decade before the tourist industry is fully revitalised. This has come from the National Economic and Social Development Council. By the way, because we've got Jett online, you will hear my computer go ping every now and then as messages arrive, so sorry about that. So are we looking at half a decade, Bill?
I think you have to go deeper than that, because if we go back and look at the last big downturn was during the global financial crisis, and at that time, Asia led the global financial crisis out of, in terms of their economies came back very quickly, so it was quite a big bounce back. This time, there's a lot of other factors. You just can't give an arbitrary number saying what's going to bounce back. What do we know? Airlift will dictate many things. The stability of Thai Airways, the stability of the low-cost airline carriers. You can't stay there if you can't get there. This is a fundamental. If the airlines are able to come back, then there's going to be people flying again. You also have to look at post-COVID, resort destinations are going to probably prosper because people feel open spaces are more safe. So destinations within Thailand, perhaps out of. Thailand has a large propensity more towards leisure travel than business travel. So that would weigh in that there'll be a bigger bounce certainly coming for Thailand as well. But you also have to look at regional economies. You have to look at places like over the past few years, we talked about it yesterday, China, the emerging middle class, certainly India, the emerging middle class. So these economies regionally certainly are going to bode well to how this economy is going to come. But I think what we know is we're at the beginning of a new cycle. Okay, we're going back to ground zero in terms of a new cycle for tourism. Do I think it's going to be 5 years? No, I don't. I think it's going to be quicker because, again, we're within 6 to 8 hours of a third of the world's population. We think the economy.
But a lot of those populations can't come here at the moment.
Can't
But
at
they
the
will.
moment.
They
Can't at the
will.
moment. Nobody's saying it's going to recover next year. Nobody's going to say it's going to recover the year after. We think over a 3-year trajectory, things happen quicker. The world is accelerated, as we see the COVID. Here to zero to now, it goes quickly. So I think that's really important. So the markets can recover, but it's not going to be immediate. And we're not going to go from 38 million tourists all of a sudden in 2022. It's going to take years to recover.
And certainly the aviation industry is a key to this, getting people back to the country. I was just going to ask Jett, places like the tourist economies, Phuket, Koh Samui, Pattaya, Chiang Mai, they are going to suffer and probably need to find an alternative to their economies. How about a place like Bangkok, Jett? Would you even notice if no foreigners were there?
I think definitely in certain areas like the middle Sukhumvit area, like the Asol, Nana area, definitely you see businesses that are catering towards tourists suffering. But if you take places like, let's say, Thonglor, where most of the locals go, before this third wave broke out, the place was indistinguishable between now and before COVID entirely. So I think it'll be in pockets of Bangkok that cater towards tourism. But they have adapted so far. Like one thing that I've noticed that a lot of hotels are doing is they're offering a lot of really good staycation deals for locals where it's discounted prices. You pay like one fixed fee and then you stay there for the weekend. You got dining, you got spa, you got all this stuff. So I think a lot of businesses are adapting, but obviously there's a huge oversupply of businesses catering towards tourists, and a lot of people are going to suffer.
Able, I was going to ask you, what do you think some of these tourist-dependent economies could do to diversify so that they don't have a situation where another virus hits the world and suddenly they're closed down again? They literally can't function.
I think that there's a lot of limitations to what they could do unless they expand into other kind of businesses that is outside of tourism, because there are no tourism at the moment, right? There's a limitation to the amount of people that are injecting money into the economy. So you have to do something that is catered, obviously, just like what Jett said, right? Staycations and things like that, where my family would go and feel that it's still affordable to go to these, 4 or 5-star hotels without having to break our pockets like before that is catered to tourism. So if the hotel industry or the tourism industry wants to, expand into other types of businesses, and I don't think that there's a limitation what you can do if you're still in the tourism industry, but other types of businesses that can help support,
I think one point back to Jett, actually, It's good and fine now for domestic tourism, but as soon as the country reopens and Thais are able to travel abroad, don't you think many Thais, certainly from Thonglor or from Bangkok, are going to want to travel abroad immediately, given a preference? Are they going to want to stay in Thailand, or they want to go to Japan? Are they going to want to go to Italy, or they want to go to France? Do they want to go to those dream destinations?
Oh, 100%. They definitely want to leave the country. But likewise, vice versa, right? People outside of Thailand want to come back to Thailand. I mean, you even see this in the comments section in Tiger where, I miss Thailand so much, I can't wait to come back.
All right, well, that's an interesting one. The government is now openly saying it could be up to half a decade before the tourists start coming back. However it happened, it is going to be a dribble. There's going to be a situation where is it the chicken or the egg? Are the businesses going to reopen to encourage the tourists to come back, or are the tourists going to come first? So it's going to be a very interesting, slow opening situation. Let's move on to our next topic, and a very interesting one yesterday from Singapore, where there's been a new breath test announced from a company called Breathonix. Let's start by having a quick look at their video.
One only has to blow into a disposable mouthpiece attached to a breath sampler. A machine learning software analyzes the compounds that are present and generates results in under a minute. Breathonix says that its trial with the National Centre for Infectious Diseases is ongoing. It's also working with regulatory bodies as it continues to fine-tune the test to improve accuracy.
So there we are. It's a 1-minute breath test that is using the Breathonix technology, and we know it's been developed by this company Breathonix in conjunction with the National University of Singapore. Bill, this would be a game changer.
So as we talked, we talked many times after 9/11, people learned to re-travel. We're going to learn to re-travel after the pandemic, and these technology is certainly going to pace that, and anything that could accelerate. If you're able to go through an airport with a breathalyzer versus trying to get poked or getting something put up your nose or something else, exactly, it is a game changer for sure.
Yeah, you see from the video that basically it's a breath test where you put your nose into a thing and it measures your COVID.
1 minute is it compared to 24 hours?
Right.
I mean, that's a huge difference.
Jett, do you see this as a real game changer if they introduce this technology at arrival airports?
Oh yeah, 100%, right? I mean, if it's as effective as they say it is, then it is definitely a game changer, and that's why I think back to the previous story of people making forecasts like this are just. It's just kind of irrelevant. These are just people sitting in rooms trying to justify their salaries. They don't know.
Like us.
Well, okay.
Sorry, do we get a salary?
Yeah, I mean, we can't all. Yeah.
I would like to have one, yeah.
But the point is, when have forecasts ever been accurate, right? Like, I feel like saying something like half a decade is just going to unnecessarily scare people and lead to a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you don't know. The entire world depends on, the solution to this COVID problem is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so you have the entire world's attention at this, innovating, thinking of ways to make things work. So, I mean, I at least for one am optimistic about the, entrepreneurial spirit of people when really put to the test. And this is one example of something that could really return us to normalcy sooner. So yeah, I'm very optimistic about this, and I would not really pay so much attention to these forecasts and all like that, because you don't know what's going to happen next week. They could announce another game changer that could completely turn everything around.
But actually, Jett, we do know. We have the 7 pages in the book of Revelation. So if it all fails, we're going to have the wizard from the
That's
sky
right.
come back.
It's all written in
It is the end of
scripture.
the
Never
world,
mind.
Right? So.
May I add something? Actually Thailand people and the Thailand culture is that they like to kind of over forecast just so that they are more protected in, we said 5 years, but you see, we came back within a quicker time. And I really do believe that, just like what Jett said, the entrepreneurial spirit and the desire for people to travel, and also the lower cost of traveling too, is going to inject the economy. And everybody, I love Thailand, and I think most people who come here love Thailand too, and I really feel very optimistic about the future of Thailand.
We had some 300 or 400 comments yesterday on our various media at the Tiger about various topics. Bill, you have got some of the responses you'd like to address.
Well, we got a note from Frank Weston. He says, no airline in their right mind would allow passengers on board without vaccine. What do we say to that?
The International Civil Aviation Authority have basically already said that coming out of this, they will be requiring their member airlines to ensure that people are vaccinated, which is going to be another talking point for the next 12 months. What do you think, Jett?
I guess I'm not an expert on this. I think it would help with consumer confidence. I don't know the exact details, but these vaccines are not 100% effective anyway. They mostly just dampen the severity of the symptoms, or may turn you from having symptoms to being asymptomatic. So, I mean, I guess it's good to have, but I think also I guess you take this with a grain of salt, where the vaccine is not the end all be all. We're still going to live with this thing, right? It's still a virus that's not going to go away anytime soon.
Well, it won't be bothering you anyway. You'll be in first class. Bill, what else have you got?
Yesterday we also had a discussion about no alcohol or the alcohol bans in many places of Thailand. This comes up in cases, why is there no alcohol served between 2 and 5 or sold in shops in certain places in Thailand?
Able, do you know why there is no alcohol served between 2 and 5?
You're asking me? You're asking the person who doesn't drink alcohol, who is allergic to alcohol.
Was that a problem before? Actually, why don't you
It's
drink?
such a big problem for me. Oh gosh, I just love drinking so much. So what was the question again?
Why is there no alcohol served or able to be sold, between 2 and 5 in the afternoon?
You know what? That is a really good question. I have been trying to find out the answer to that question for years, and I have no idea, really.
This is what I heard, and it could be an urban legend, but that may make it even more interesting. Is that I think the reason why they're banning 2 to 5 alcohol is that actually during this time, people, especially in construction sites or anything, people have been drinking so much in the afternoon after lunch that it actually reduces productivity.
Really?
And so the government once did a study between, whether they should limit alcohol during this time and not. They actually found that productivity went up when they banned alcohol. So
I thought it was something to do with the school, when schools go home, and so the kids wouldn't be rushing down to the 7-Eleven to grab a quick beer.
Quick singer. Yeah.
What do you think, Bill?
Either or. Watch it. I like both reasons too. Actually, I'm going to start having my staff drink during lunch. I like Jett's reason, actually. I'm going to try that out as well.
Jett's reason sounds much more plausible than ours, I think.
Yeah, but in practice, it doesn't matter, right? Because that study was done in isolation between an area where they made sure that there was no alcohol and an area that they made sure that alcohol was abundant. But in practice, it's come on, man, is that really going to stop someone from drinking if they really wanted a drink? Well,
they'd go in there at 1:55 and buy a 6-pack.
Yes, exactly. How is that going to stop? Okay, it may deter a certain amount of people that oh shoot, I forgot to buy alcohol for this time exactly, but they'll try again tomorrow, right? So I think, again, just a bunch of people in rooms trying to justify their salaries, and so yeah.
All right, Bill, what else you got?
From Leslie, and again regarding the alcohol ban. My wife and I go to restaurants 5 or 6 times a week to eat, but now we're eating at home. And I think that's really interesting because, again, this has been a constant subject, restaurants. Part of tourism, and we talked also with Jett earlier, and Able as well, restaurants are part of our tourism economy. It's so important here. Thailand's such a great dining destination. These guys are flat on their backs right now, and there has to be a way to help these restaurants. This alcohol ban is doing nothing to assist the economy or to bring these businesses back from the dead.
Well, before we go to Jett, I was just going to say that in our household, we've certainly got used to ordering perfectly good food in at a very reasonable price, very conveniently, with a lot of choice. In fact, a lot more choice than just a single restaurant. And I'm wondering if when all the restaurants open again and things return to some sort of normal, will we be going to the restaurants as much as we used to in the past? Have we got used to perhaps eating at home with these new delivery services providing an excellent service? Jett, what's happening in your household?
Well, for me, I guess I've actually been eating a lot healthier. Most of the food that I've been ordering is very healthy, and I've had to force myself to cook more, which in the end has been a net positive for me.
Oh, Jett, I have to ask, what are you cooking?
Mostly chicken breast and various vegetables that go with it.
Vegetables in the microwave for 2 minutes.
Tim, I know how to cook.
I just know you don't.
That was before COVID. Now I actually need to be.
Now you're a sous chef.
But I think Bill, you touched on this yesterday or the day before, where some people are actually becoming more healthy as a result of this, because I think they're mindful of the food that gets into their body, because of, they want to strengthen their immune system and all like that. But then on the other hand, there are people that just have no self-control and will just order pizza every day.
And construction workers as well who are drinking in the afternoon.
So yeah, exactly. So at least for me, I've been more healthier. And I guess to your question on whether this would change people's behaviors once things open up, I think I personally doubt it, because I think there's something to be said about dining out and getting together and eating that food fresh out of the kitchen served to you. I think there is value to that. I mean, Food Panda and home cooking has been around, since the beginning not the beginning of time, but for a long time too. So it's not necessarily like a total game changer. So I personally think, people will go back to dining because they miss that experience.
And what's happening in the Wanamakok household?
I think that contrary to not contrary, but I agree to some of what you guys are saying, is that people do miss going out, and they do miss, the experiences of being in a different place rather than being stuck in our homes. And I do think that people have changed somewhat their habits, because COVID's been going on for like more than a year and a half now, 2 years, and if we listen to what the government is saying, it's going to continue on. So there are definitely habits that people are more accustomed to, and obviously COVID have drilled it into our minds that health is very important as well as well-being. So some people, of course, and I think a majority of people are adapting to that kind of mentality, but restaurant businesses do need our support. I mean, I used to be in the restaurant business, and I believe that we will go back to the way that it was slowly,
All right, and with that, we'd like to thank our guest. Able, would you like to give people a contact if people want to contact you for any emceeing? Or...
Call Able, right?
And I have to correct him. I'm an international presenter, not just a local one, okay? So I work everywhere around the world as a stage MC and TV host, etc., etc.
But not at the moment.
Yeah, see, I have been very quiet.
What's your slogan? Your slogan is be
heard and be able.
Be able.
There
yes.
you go.
So find your voice, Asia.
Jett, are you doing the news or am I doing the news today?
I'll do the news today, Tim. So stay tuned for that, everyone.
And you can watch Jett, of course, on Thailand News Today occasionally, and without the nice shirts. And also, he's presenting other things on the Tiger, and watch out for his cryptocurrency channel coming up soon.
Not true.
Did you say something about a nice shirt?
Bill Barnett, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Bill Barnett from C9 Hotel Works, and thank you to all our guests. Thank you also to Jay, who's been pressing the buttons there in the background. And thank you to Coffee Club, who delivered the coffees this morning. And with that, we'd like to thank you for joining us on Good Morning Thailand. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.